That's my favorite part, though. At the end. Love it. Okay, welcome to Dynasty 365 podcast, the Dynasty Fantasy Football podcast for fantasyandframes.com, the Fantasy and Frames podcast network. If you listen and you like us, subscribe, rate, and review. I'm Brian Ford, and I'm joined by my co-host Tyler Heil. Tyler, how you doing?
I am wonderful. As we were discussing, I am very tired. Been up since about 3:30 this morning, but I am ready to talk some draft landing spots, some draft stuff in general, and just disagree with you a little bit since we are good at doing that.
Yeah. So, what was the up at 3:30 draft prep, or just something else?
Unfortunately, it wasn't anything fun. It was work.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Now, I've started to nickname Tyler the GM around here. He knows the cap. He loves team construction, all the off-season stuff, team building, and the draft especially is Christmas for him, folks. So I'm gonna do my best to keep this to under 3 hours, and see if Tyler can stay awake. Okay. So we're going to get right into it. We are here at Dynasty 365. Team landing spot matters. I know some people say it doesn't matter. I think it does. I'm not saying it matters like, the biggest, but I'm definitely team landing spot matters. So let's talk about some landing spots, best for and worst for. Let's talk about running backs first. We have some overlap here with the Bills and Falcons. I think the Bills and Falcons are a good spot. I think the Falcons have sort of a path to maybe more volume, but of course we have the high-powered offense with the Bills, who increased their rushing attempts and yards per carry and yards per game between 20 and 2021. What do you love about the Bills, and who do you love there?
Man, I just love the Bills' offense overall. I mean, you got Josh Allen there. You got a lot of people's QB1 and Josh Allen. You got Stephon Diggs, who I've seen take a little hit in his dynasty value, but, he's still going to be great. His redraft value is still going to be sky high if you're just looking at it on a season-by-season basis. Mm-hmm. But they're trying to improve that offensive line. Devin Singletary showed that you can have success in that run game. So much so that I worry a little bit if they end up taking a running back in the third round, that I think he'll split a little bit more work with Singletary than any of us would want. Mm-hmm. But if they're going for one of these big two guys, these Breece Hall or Kenneth Walkers, I think they're going to get an opportunity. They're going to take him in the second round, and he's going to smash. I mean, which one of them do you like better there?
That's a good question. I've seen Spiller mocked at 25 to the Bills. I'm not sure that happens in the first round.
Spiller?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Breece Hall. Sorry.
Okay.
I probably think. I mean, Hall is the better overall back, but I wonder if Walker's skill set is more different from Singletary's. What do you think about that as far as like complementing each other?
I think Singletary is sometimes pigeonholed into a pass catching running back just because he's really short. I believe he's 5'7", but when they were using Zach Moss last year, which obviously didn't go well for anyone, he was catching passes. He was running routes. So I don't know how much they want to use him in a pass catching role.
Yeah. Okay. So, fantasy question. Last night on the other Dynasty podcast I made a bold prediction that if Walker or Hall go to the Bills, they will at the start of the season be in my top 12 Dynasty running backs. What do you think of that?
That I don't blame you. I mean, especially if one of them goes at pick 25, I think if there's a running back drafted in the first round, they're just automatically like in your top 20, maybe your top 15. Mm-hmm. And I don't see anything wrong with putting a 21, 22-year-old running back that has that kind of draft capital and is actually good, which those two are up in your top 12. I don't see anything wrong with that. I like it.
One last question on the Bills, and then we're going to move on to a couple other spots that we like real quick. So one argument I've heard is we don't like the Bills for running backs because despite the increase in rushing, they're still a passing team. Josh Allen will vulture carries and especially TDs and won't check down to the running back as a running quarterback. You say?
I think that all of that is true. I also think none of that matters because it's such a high volume offense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We both like the Falcons. I think just an easy path to volume there. I don't know if they grab one of Walker and Hall because I think I see them maybe grabbing a receiver, maybe even a receiver in their second pick. I've seen mocked. What do you like about the Falcons? And besides maybe the volume, and who might go there if not the big two, you think?
I wish I had a better answer for what I like about the Falcons aside from volume.
Yeah,
because unfortunately it's nothing.
Yeah.
That team is going to be bad.
That's the answer I expected. Yeah.
And that's why I don't think they'll spend up on one of these big two running backs. They need to worry about other parts of their roster and then fill in their running back position later. As much as we all love to see Breece Hall go and get 450 touches in the Atlanta offense, have a Najee Harris-esque season where he's super inefficient, but just has so much volume it doesn't matter, and he's a top 5 running back. Do you like anything else about the Falcons?
No, it's clear. It's just volume. Workhorse needed, apply within, right? Like that's kind of what I'm looking at with the Falcons. Similar to them, I just want to flag that we both kind of like the Texans, and I know some people think I'm a Texans fan because of my Mills, Nico, Brevin Jordan love.
That's me. I'm people.
So anything of note about the Texans other than the volume?
I don't hate their offense. I don't think they're going to be this surprise top 12 offense next year, but I also don't think they're going to be a bottom 5 offense. Davis Mills showed he is capable last year. They still have Brandon Cooks, who has been good his entire career, and hopefully Nico Collins is able to develop a little bit. And they still have some linemen on that team that can actually play and block and create a little bit of space for this offense to run and rack up some fantasy points. And their defense sucks, so they're going to be playing from behind a lot. Right.
Okay. And final note on the Texans, you will be impressed with this. Jorge, watching on the big screen, will be impressed with this. Their new offensive coordinator is a fellow by the name of Pep Hamilton, and he likes to throw to running backs.
That's it, huh? I love it.
I mean,
right?
That's some deep OC research right there.
It is.
Yeah. All right, you want to do wide receivers or quarterbacks next?
Let's do quarterbacks.
Okay. So we both like the Lions and Steelers for quarterback spots. I think for similar reasons. I liked the Lions and Steelers because the quarterback will get to learn for a bit, and after maybe a year, they're inheriting good weapons on both teams. If, say, one of those quarterbacks goes to the Lions or Steelers, that may bump them up a little bit in my rookie drafts. Maybe say it's Pickett, maybe from 110 to 108, something like that. Not a big bump, but certainly one where I'm looking at that more favorably than some other landing spots. What do you like about the Lions and Steelers?
Lions, I'm a little torn on.
Okay.
Because I'd love to see them kind of kick the can down the road and get their roster better for next year.
Right.
But also, they have a pretty good situation right now, at least on the offensive side of the ball. They have a good offensive line. They have a very good running back in DeAndre Swift. They have some good weapons on the outside. They literally just picked up TJ Hawkinson's 5th-year option 20 minutes ago. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was amazing down the stretch last year. Like, I think was playoff MVP for fantasy football.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in DJ Chark, took a shot on him. They've got some receivers that, have some promise. And I think that it could be a very good offense.
Mm-hmm.
And Steelers wise, I mean, just the stability, that team is very, very concise with what they like to do. If they're drafting a guy, it's because they have organizational belief in him. Mm-hmm. And are going to bring him along and develop him. And also Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth. Mm-hmm. They also have good weapons, but not a great offensive line, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, Claypool's value has been down recently, and I think depending on the QB that goes there at 20, perhaps, that could help. So I'm looking at your list here. Give me one more. Tyler, the GM, Heil, good fantasy landing spot for a quarterback.
All right, so good fantasy landing spot. I can't say it will be good for this year, but for the future, it will be great. I think a sneaky team that could be in the running for one of these quarterbacks in the first round is the Tennessee Titans. They've gone all in on, this whole Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry experience, and it's got them a number 1 seed in a bad AFC year, and it got them knocked out in the divisional round of the playoffs, and they still haven't won a playoff game. So it might be time to start looking, and if you can bring in one of these guys in the first round, a Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pillock. I tried to combine
Kenny Pickle.
Try to combine Pickett with Willis. There's that 3:30 wake up time showing its rear and its ugly head. But Pickett, Willis, if you can get one of these guys on this team, allow them to develop for a year behind Ryan Tannehill, and you're going to have A.J. Brown, and remember Robert Woods is on this team.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Austin Hooper and a good offensive line. I feel pretty good about that. I would be very excited for that Tennessee landing spot for any of these first round quarterbacks.
That's a good one. I haven't heard too many folks talk about that. And that's what Tyler is here for. So on to wide receivers. Everybody's talking Packers and Chiefs. We think Packers and Chiefs are good. We also overlap on Falcons and Vikings. I think Falcons are bad. Mariota isn't terrible. They're going to have to throw a lot. There's nothing but volume waiting there for folks. I think the Vikings, with Thielen aging, they want to maybe bring in their 2 or their 1B. And I also want to say, I want to flag the Jets too. Seen a lot of Drake London getting mocked to the Jets at 10. I think I probably like the quarterback more than some other people do. But I think a big body receiver like London to go along with Elijah Moore is just going to be good. And again, a path to volume. So I want to flag that too.
I love that fit. Drake London to the Jets is amazing.
What else do you like about the Falcons, Vikings, or anybody else on your list?
I think I would just be repeating what you said about the Falcons and Vikings. Thielen getting long in the tooth, bringing in a nice number 2 to complement Justin Jefferson. Falcons just volume galore. Mm-hmm. Saints also have a lot of volume available, and also, maybe Michael Thomas doesn't play again. Who knows? The one team that I really am actually very excited for, outside of, those big 2, the Packers and Chiefs, those are just easy picks, is the Cardinals. They just lost Christian Kirk. DeAndre Hopkins had a down year. I don't think he's done. He could be. A lot of people think he's done. Mm-hmm. But I think they could bring in a really nice number 2 to run on the outside with DeAndre Hopkins on the opposite side and Rondale Moore running from the slot. I would love to see a guy like Chris Olave land in Arizona. I think that would be a perfect landing spot for everyone. And also, he has the speed to stretch the field even better than Christian Kirk did. So, that would get me really pumped up seeing Olave land in Arizona.
Okay, awesome. Rookie draft question. London
Yes.
goes to the Jets. Garrett Wilson goes to the Falcons early in their early round pick, and Olave goes to the Cardinals. Which one are you taking first in your rookie draft?
Man, you are just flat out putting me on the spot here.
Right. Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna stick with my wide receiver one there and just say Garrett Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't love the Mariota effect, but it's going to be just an insane amount of volume, and I think him and Kyle Pitts will complement each other really well, running on opposite sides of the field, or who knows, maybe running on the same side of the field. Could be fun. But I think both of those guys could get 150 plus targets.
Yeah, and I think for me, I look at the target competition maybe in Arizona as maybe fading Olave among those three, and then it would be sort of a tough choice. But I'd have to go with somebody who I think is a little more well-rounded, Wilson, than I would with London.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, man. So we agree on something. You said, "Oh man, did you?" You wanted us to disagree?
I wanted you to take London, man. I wanted to hear it.
You thought my latent Jets fandom that is somehow still in my bones from when I was a kid would have me.
Do you have a fire helmet in your closet? A green fire helmet?
No, but I tell you what, when I was like in my 20s, not even like late teens, early 20s, when I was still drinking, I would you'll be surprised at this. I would wear like a Wayne Chrebet jersey and like yell at the TV on Sundays and that sort of thing. Like I was all about it for a little while there, but yeah. So
I got some stories about watching Jets games, but
I think I've told my Monday Night Miracle story on one of these podcasts. We'll revisit it next time or something. So we've done the good news. Now let's do the bad news, the worst 4 landing spots. I didn't see a whole lot of overlap that we had here. What position do you want to go with first?
Let's hit wide receiver first.
Okay. I don't think you're gonna like my first choice here. I'll be brief. Okay. Patriots. I don't like Mac Jones. I think they lean on the run. Somebody going in there would probably be the number one, but the number one on that team isn't the number one on what other teams are. And I think also it's sort of cheating, but the Broncos are really crowded. And I think any receiver that goes there, which they probably won't be drafting high anyway, might get lost in the sauce. So those are my 2 for worst.
Yeah, I tend to disagree on the Patriots. I don't think Mac Jones is going to, come out of nowhere and throw for 4,800 yards. But I think he's going to be an efficient producer, and they need people to eat up targets in that offense. Mm-hmm. Jacoby Myers can't do it all. And I don't like Nelson Aguilar. I don't think anyone likes N'Keal Harry anymore. People have pretty much just realized Hunter Henry is the only tight end on that team, sadly. But yeah, I think they could use a receiver to eat up some targets, but we'll see. I think they end up taking a receiver pretty high.
So you got okay. Well, you know what? I think I saw it in a mock that they did take one with a pretty high draft capital. So your worst, few on the list there. I'm intrigued by talking about the Eagles, but pick one on your list and tell me why it's the worst.
I'll just go with the Eagles. They have a need for wide receiver 2, big time. It is very, very hard to have a NFL offense that produces a top 5 to 8 tight end, a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2. When you have target dominant tight ends like that, Travis Kelce, George Kittle when he's on the field, Mark Andrews, you're not going to have 2 top 24 wide receivers. You're just not. They're is likely an exception to the rule, but I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be it. You add all of that onto Jalen Hurts being a running quarterback and them dialing up runs for him, and Nick Sirianni loved running the ball last year. I mean, he used every single running back on his roster. He used Miles Sanders. He used Boston Scott. He used Jordan Howard. He used Kenny Gainwell, to the despair of fantasy managers everywhere. They like to spread it around. They use everyone on their team. For fantasy NFL football wise, I think it would be a good fit. Fantasy wise, I don't think a wide receiver going high to the Eagles would be very exciting at all.
Yeah. So what do you think of the argument? And this was made to me by several people, one of which I was trying to make the trade with, and the others I was asking about the trade. The Eagles are going to draft a wide receiver 1. Devonta Smith will go become the wide receiver 2, and therefore his value is now low, and that's why the person was asking for XYZ in the trade.
I guess I don't see a big road for that. I mean, they could. They've already traded away. They had 3 first-round picks, I believe. They traded away 1 to the Saints. They basically just swapped it for a 2023 first and a second this year. So I think the Eagles are going to focus on rebuilding that defense and some other things on their roster before they go for a wide receiver that high. But because if you're Howie Roseman, can you really say, okay, I'm going to take 4 wide receivers in 4 consecutive years in the top 2 rounds and only have 1 guy to show for it?
Listen, I don't know. The thing that I hear from Eagles fans is sometimes you just never know, with Howie. But so certainly Jalen Reagor was an interesting selection. So after wide receivers, do you want to go running back or quarterback?
Let's go running back.
Okay. So I hope Jorge's still watching here. So I'm hearing more and more buzz about Washington taking a running back on day 2, probably the 47th overall pick. They've had several interesting running back visits to their team. I don't like this. I don't like this for the person drafted there because Gibson's there, and I don't like it for Gibson because the person that's going to get drafted there. I think they want to move, it sounds, into more of a rotational thing and not Gibson as perhaps the 1. And I think both their ceilings get capped as far as the draftee and Gibson. What say you?
Oh man, I honestly haven't even heard that rumor, but if that happens, they will cannibalize each other so bad in a not great offense with a bad quarterback that I don't know if either of them would be really top 20 options.
Okay. I gotcha. And let's go to your yes. He's watching. Yes. We'll see if we have any more hot commander takes. For some reason that sounds a little. Well, anyway, so give me 1 or 2 of your bad running back landing spots.
So I'll give you 1 bad one and 1 wild card.
Right on, love it.
I think there's a chance that the Rams just draft a running back in the top 4 rounds because why not? They could draft a wide receiver. Who knows? I don't know what they're thinking with some of these draft picks they have. A la Tutu Atwell. I think they had the Darrell Henderson experience last year, and it wasn't great for anyone. He can't stay healthy. He can't handle any kind of volume. So they might try to, if they don't re-sign Sony Michel, try to go out and get a running back to help out Cam Akers and lower his volume a bit so he gets 100% healthy after that Achilles injury. Second one I have. Well, what do you think about that?
I think your argument is good, both from the running back situation on the ground, right, and also just the sort of team. I don't want to say unpredictability, but we've seen them do interesting things. So I think with both of those arguments, I think that's definitely so. Put you on the spot here. What running back after, say, I don't know, maybe your top 3 or 4, would be a good fit for the Rams? Are they looking for another Cam, someone to complement Cam? What do you think?
I think they liked what they had in Sony Michel last year. So that being said, I think they would like to have someone like maybe a Damian Pierce, a Brian Robinson, someone in that mold. What about your guy Hassan Haskins?
I like me some Hassan Haskins. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I love it. I think that's a good fit. So would being on the Rams offense, even in what seems like a rotation with Cam Akers, still be a really bad landing spot, or now are we thinking maybe it's not on the bad list? Now maybe it's question mark.
I think it's a bad landing spot. I think they want to give Cam Akers volume, and the only reason they had to give Sony Michel volume at the end of last season was, number one, Sony was being pretty successful on the ground. People don't love to hear that because it's Sony, but he was running pretty well. And also they had to give Cam Akers some kind of breather. They gave him, I think, 24 carries in his first game back, and it was ridiculous. It was so inefficient. They needed to give him some kind of break.
Okay. All right, and then give me your wild card.
All right, wild card is, I have them listed as a bad spot right now, but could be good spot, is the Las Vegas Raiders. They have Josh Jacobs. They still have Kenyon Drake on the roster. They actually they turned some of his salary into a roster bonus just to keep him on the roster. So that says to me that they're planning on using him. Jacobs had a little not quite as efficient year as you would like to see last year, but he was still really good for fantasy. I still believe in Josh Jacobs. I think he's a good running back. And I think he would still be the main running back if they drafted someone. But the one question mark I still have is teams are picking up fifth-year options left and right. I have not seen Josh Jacobs' fifth-year option picked up yet.
Okay.
He was first-round pick. They have until Monday, I believe, to make that call. I would think that they will pick it up, but if they say, no, we don't want to spend $8 million on a running back and decline his option, then that all of a sudden becomes a really juicy landing spot for a running back with, Derek Carr getting extension, Devontae Adams coming in, Hunter Renfrow showing he can do something, Darren Waller. I just think it's a really good spot for a running back. And if Josh Jacobs doesn't get that fifth-year option picked up, I'd be really excited about a guy landing there.
Okay. All right. So any one in particular you think is a good fantasy fit there from your list of rankings, or it's a wild card, so who knows?
I think it's a wild card. I mean, if they're going to bring in a guy to replace Josh Jacobs, I think they're going to have to spend a little higher draft capital on him, and hopefully a guy with some high-end athletic ability. So I'm looking at someone like a Rachaad White, or maybe a Zamir White if they're just looking for a guy to run the ball.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think the contract situation is interesting. So let's say Zamir White goes to Las Vegas, and name another running back you like in that range, in that rankings range.
Let's say Tyler Algier.
Okay. Let's say Tyler Algier goes to Washington. Zamir White goes to Vegas, not knowing anything about the Jacobs contract situation, right? You wake up after the draft and your first take is?
Oh man, you know what? I'll just go the guy that I have ranked higher. I'll go Tyler Algier.
Okay.
Because they're both a bad situation. Antonio Gibson's contract will be up as well. Just hope that I'm right on thinking that Algier's a better player.
Right. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit about Algier later on. So I think we have quarterbacks left. I took a look at the quarterback needy, so to speak, teams and said which one do I think is the worst landing spot. Now there's been a lot about the Panthers taking Pickett at 6. Lately, I see that the move is going to be they might be the first trade out if they can find somebody. If both top tackles are gone, they're gonna trade out and would not select Pickett. But Pickett or otherwise, I think if you're walking into the Panthers quarterback situation, you have Darnold still there, and who knows? You have Robbie Anderson has an out in his contract after this season. CMC and DJ Moore have outs after 2023. The O-line is a mess, needs rebuilding. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback at 6, but if they took a quarterback anywhere in this draft, I don't like it for that quarterback, and they probably would get a ding for me as far as where I would place them in a super flex rookie draft.
Yeah, I do not like the Panthers as a landing spot. If the Panthers were smart, they would go out and get a veteran quarterback and just draft a tackle at 6.
Mm-hmm. So they're going to trade for Baker?
I think it would make a lot of sense. I'm the first guy to say Baker forced the Browns' hand with his level of play last year. Mm-hmm. But also we've seen Baker be a good quarterback. He's never going to be a top 12 guy, but he can play at a high enough level to be successful when everything is pointed in the right way for him. And I think the Panthers have to take that chance because Baker Mayfield on the Panthers is going to have a far greater chance of success this year than Kenny Pickett. And Matt Rule might get fired. So
yeah, that's part of the equation, right? Like he can't be messing around with a rookie. So let's talk about your bad landing spots for quarterback. I see 3.
Question.
Oh yeah.
Where would you have Baker ranked if he went to the Panthers for a 3rd round pick?
I think I have him I think I have him right around the 32 mark, like the bottom of like what would be ostensibly 32 starters. Yeah. I still with assuming the O-line gets addressed in the draft and he's got, CMC and DJ Moore at his disposal. I'd have to look at the rankings list, but he'd still be outside of 24, but I'd bump him up a few. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a question. Any idea if Seattle addresses the quarterback situation during draft weekend?
That's a good one. We've left them out of the conversation. So they're at 9, and then they're at 40 and 41. What I'm hearing is there's going to be teams that probably trade up into the late first to grab a quarterback, and there's not going to be many quarterbacks taken at all, and we'll get to that in a second. And then teams are going to trade up into like that end of the first to try to grab a Matt Corral, a Sam Howell, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Trading up from 40 or 41, I don't think is out of the question unless they think, that if fewer people are anyway, that at some point that they're at 40 or 41, one of those guys will be there. I wouldn't be surprised if at 40 and 41 or trading up from there, they grab somebody. I also wouldn't be surprised if they go into the season with Geno and Drew Lock. So I don't know. Maybe I'd say 60-40, they don't take a quarterback.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think they'll take a quarterback at 9. But hey, I'm all for it, man. Let all hell break loose on Thursday night. That'd be so fun if the Seahawks just came out and took Malik Willis.
And it's not a bad fantasy spot. You still got DK there. Lockett's still hanging around. Penny, and you think they'll probably address another running back. Like, it's not a bad spot.
No Fant. Don't forget Fant.
Oh, man. So what is a bad spot for you for quarterbacks? I see 3, and they're all interesting in one way or another. Give me give me one first, and then we'll go from there.
All right. The one I'll give you is the Commanders. This is just a bad situation. They spent way too much draft capital to acquire Carson Wentz. So they basically committed to Carson Wentz for at least a year. And I don't think that organization is going to be as open and honest with themselves as the Colts were about the Carson Wentz thing. They realized it was a mistake to start, and they fixed their mistake as quickly as possible. And I don't think the Commanders are going to do that. They could still draft a quarterback to try to, increase their chance of success, but then that quarterback won't play for another year or two. And on top of that, you have a weird running back situation. You have one wide receiver on your roster that's any good, and Logan Thomas, who can't seem to stay on the field. I just don't like that offensive situation, fantasy-wise, one bit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And sorry, Jorge, we've picked on the Commanders now for two positions. All right, you have Colts and Falcons. Give me one.
All right, I'll do 2. Falcons, just be bad. Just be bad. Don't take a quarterback. Just be bad. Get a high this year. Colts. I don't think they would do this. I don't think they would go and take a quarterback high, because they don't strike me as the organization to do that after they just went and got Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan can still play at a relatively high level, but they also might just take a guy in the second round and let him sit and go full Jordan Love on him. Yeah. And I think, like I said, Matt Ryan can still play at a relatively high level. It will relegate that young quarterback to the bench for at least probably 2 years. And who knows what will happen after that. He won't get any steps. He won't develop.
And it would be on a run-heavy team. So, yeah. Okay, so let's take Jorge's comment, and then we're going to do something a little special that we haven't done yet.
Drake London plus Commanders for the win.
So, sorry, Jorge, but he's not going to get to 11. They have 11, right?
Yes.
And he's going to be taken by the Jets at 10, and you will be forced to take that safety. What is his name? Kyle something, right?
Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, I thought it was Hamilton. I didn't want to go out there and mess it up.
Not a bad pick.
Yeah. So, in most things in life and in a lot of things in sports, Tyler, I often root for the underdog. What do you think about that?
Well, it's funny that you say that, Brian, because we are partnering with Underdog Fantasy, 2 brands with one common goal. We want to make fantasy fun for everyone. I don't know if you've done a lot of Underdog. I know I have. It's a ton of fun. I invest a not insignificant amount of money every year in just doing best ball drafts. I'll do $3 here, $5 there.
Mm-hmm.
They're just fun to do. They're 30-second clocks. You go through them really quickly. You draft them, you forget about them, and then you look at it at the end of the year, and it's like, oh, hey, I won $50. That's fun. Yeah. But just all kinds of things. You get in these created leagues that are already ready for you. You can do custom leagues. I love the 3-man leagues. I have 2 buddies that I'll text with about football all the time. We'll just do our own personal 3-man league for like $10 a pop, and we'll just draft it on a Friday night when we're sitting at home. It's so much fun.
Yeah, there's a pocket in the off season where us Dynasty folks are like, okay, we have to restrain ourselves from startups, and it's like, okay, it's best ball time, and we're just like running it out, and just racking up those those best ball teams, and really underdog is the place to go for that. We have an offer for folks, do we not?
We do. You can sign up on Underdog Fantasy using the promo code FRAMES. That's FRAMES to receive a 100% match up to $100 with a minimum of a $10 deposit. So if you're not signed up for an Underdog, get over there, get a 100% match, put $100 on it, get 200, and you'll be playing best ball for the entire season. You can set up your own best ball league for any major sport. This is not just football. You know, I have other sporting interests outside of football myself. So people that are into basketball, you can go and do playoff best ball. You can do baseball. You can do all kinds of other sports, and it's a lot of fun. For those looking for more of a challenge, you can join pre-made leagues with entry fees ranging from $3 all the way up to $100. And what's also fun in season for the NFL, as well as just any other sport, is you can play their pick 'em prop games and enjoy the feeling of being right while earning some cash on the side. And I enjoy being right, even though I'm not right very often, but it is a good time. But the thing you really have to remember with Underdog Fantasy that is most important is have fun.
And it's been fun talking about quarterbacks as far as worst landing spots. But now we're going to get into a little bit of a fantasy fallout. So we're kind of constructing this as if blank team gets blank player at quarterback, the fallout for the rest of the team is, and I'm going to go first with, I think, what might be a contrarian take that I will also talk a little bit more about later. I don't like Willis to the Steelers. I know Mike Tomlin loves him. I know a lot of people like him there to the Steelers at 20. I'm not so sure. I'm down on Willis to begin with. I think he's sitting for at least a year. I think probably two. Learning the ropes and fixing those mechanics and decision making and footwork. And then the Pittsburgh weapons, whether it's Trubisky or what other bridge they have, will be rotting on the vine, and Claypool will be a forgotten player. That's the fantasy fallout for me for the Steelers' weapons if Willis goes there at 20 or somewhere else. You disagree?
I do. I think it's largely just because of my belief in the Steelers to find someone that's going to make them be a successful organization. I do think he'll sit for a year. I don't think you're wrong there. They'll let Trubisky play, but if Trubisky struggles, I don't think they're going to be afraid to stick him into the starting lineup. You draft a guy for a reason. You don't draft a guy to concrete his butt to the bench. You want him in there. You want him in the quarterback room. You want him participating. And if you put Willis in there, oh boy, is Najee Harris going to take off. Anytime you get a running quarterback like that in there, that just opens lanes like crazy for running backs. Man, Najee would be he would probably go up to number 2 or number 3 dynasty running back for me if they landed Willis. I would love that fit.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's all about how we evaluate Willis. But one thing we did want to highlight is that we both have sort of an idea about Pickett. I'll be quick. If he doesn't go to Carolina, which we're expecting not, but you never know. I've seen him mocked to the Saints. They have the 2 picks there, I think like 16 and 19 or something like that. I've seen him mocked there. I don't love it. He's got Jameis there to compete with. Michael Thomas, I don't know where he's effed off to. I think Kamara will be fine no matter what. Troutman, he's shown upside, but who knows? Tough spot for me to see Pickett at the Saints. But also, I think for fantasy wise for him and the others, I just don't know that there's enough there to be confident about a whole lot if he gets drafted there. You, however, want to talk about Pickett in a different context.
Yeah, I'm going to go with it. Pickett to the Panthers. the ties there are too strong to ignore for me. Matt Rule recruited him at Temple. Pickett actually committed to Temple before Matt Rule left for the Baylor job, and then Pickett decommitted and went to Pitt. David Tepper, the owner, I feel like people have talked about this ad nauseum, but David Tepper, the owner of the Panthers, went to Pitt. So the ties there are really strong, and the desperation in Carolina is really strong. I don't love the situation for Pickett going there. Could he be successful? Yeah, he could be. Anyone could be. But I don't see the likelihood of that as very high. He could be okay. I think if Pickett goes to the Panthers, you're going to be looking at CMC with just as high a volume as he's ever had. They're going to run him into the ground. And then DJ Moore is going to be mired in mediocrity with Kenny Pickett landing in Carolina. I don't love that fit. I want him to go somewhere else.
Right on. Yeah. So our next segment, we're gonna briefly talk about trades? Question mark. Are they even going to happen? And who's on the block and whatnot. So I want you to do your Tony take. So we got to talk about Debo, right? So on the spot, percentage chance he gets traded during draft time, during the whole 7 rounds.
18.
18. Okay.
Yep.
I like him to the Jets among other teams. You like him to the Packers and Patriots, but it doesn't sound like it's gonna happen. So let's talk about Kadarius Toney. He's an interesting cat. NFL scouts liked him more than the fantasy community. He got taken in the first round. Some people thought it was brilliant. Some people thought it was a reach. He had a couple good games, not much else going on, some injuries. And now he's looking like he's a little disgruntled and might be angling for a trade, or the team might be angling for a trade. You have an interesting landing spot for him. Talk to me about Toney.
Yeah, I like Toney as a prospect. That dude is super athletic. He is so explosive. When he gets the ball in his hands, you're like, wow. I mean, he just jumps off the screen when he has the ball in his hands. But he's had a lot of problems just, I think, being an adult and being a professional football player with New York. They might be done with him, and I think that's kind of what's driving the trade talk. Mm-hmm. If they were to trade him, they would have to trade him to somewhere that's willing to take a chance on him and has the leadership in place and is solid enough to do it. And I actually like him landing with the Browns. The Browns are a little wide receiver deficient right now. They have Amari Cooper. They still have Donovan Peoples-Jones. If you listen to the people in Cleveland, Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to have a breakout season next year. We'll see. They drafted Anthony Schwartz in the 3rd round last year. He's more of just a speed guy. Yeah. I think they could really use someone that they could get the ball to in space. And Kadarius Toney is that dude. Wide receiver screen, short routes, things like that, jet sweeps. I think it'd be really good for it. And, when Deshaun Watson eventually gets into that offense after his likely suspension, I think Toney would be a really good fit there, and he'd look really good in that offense.
Okay. So put you on the spot. Toney goes to the Browns, 2022. He is wide receiver blank, or give me a range. You don't have to give me 26. Just
okay. Are we factoring the suspension here?
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, I would say he's a wide receiver 4 or 5.
Okay.
Right. You get a full season of Watson. I think he can he can get into the wide receiver 3 territory. But with Jacoby Brissett, I don't feel great about it, but could work out.
All right. Time for some spice. These are some unpopular takes about the draft, because what the hell? Why not? Right? We've talked about these rookies ad nauseum. The draft is a couple days away. We finally made it. Let's have some fun here. So I've got 4. You've got 3. I'm going to say
this is a safe place, Brian.
Yeah.
No No repercussions here.
Yeah. I'm gonna say we'll each do two, and then we'll see how much time we have, right? But we have to do one in particular that we both share, or not share the same take, but share the player. So let's save that person for a second. You give me one that you want to do.
All right. David Bell will end up being a top 5 fantasy receiver from this class for his career. He has been absolutely tanked in draft value, primarily in the fantasy community. I think the NFL still believes him in as a player, but with his lack athleticism or lack thereof athleticism, the fantasy community has absolutely tanked him, and he's probably going in the late third round of your rookie mocks at this point.
Yeah.
And at this point, the guy can just play football. It doesn't happen all the time that a guy running a 4.6 40 is a super successful NFL wide receiver, but it does happen. So I think David Bell could be successful. I think he could be a top 5 scoring fantasy wide receiver from this class.
Okay. You know what I wish we had? We didn't think of it. You know that heat scale they have for like peppers? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we had one of those and we could figure out how spicy that is on the scale. But maybe next year. So I'm gonna. I think I'll go with this one. It's the one that people seem to hate the most. Malik Willis will not be a first-round pick, barring trade-ups. I'm saying, people picking where they're at, and this will depress quarterbacks even further in rookie drafts in Superflex. I think people like me, and I've heard the NFL too. A couple people, not that they're souring on him, but they're starting to look at guys like Burks and Pickens and Willis as like longer term projects in a league where there's pressure to win now. And I think we might be overhyping Willis. I know you disagree, but I didn't comment on David Bell. So let's go to our friend Isaiah Spiller. Who should go first on this one?
You go.
Okay. Unpopular take. Where do I got him here? Spiller is underrated and could even be a steal in the draft after a certain point, but probably won't move much from the 108 to 110 range that you're seeing in Superflex rookie drafts. I just think he's getting a bad rap. I think he's steady and well-rounded. I think he'll have a short prime, but I think people are sleeping on him a little bit. And you disagree.
I disagree. My take was that Spiller isn't any good. And barring him landing with the Bills or Falcons somehow, I'm not interested. There is no way I will spend the 110 on Isaiah Spiller. I don't think he does anything even above well. I think he's fine at a lot of things and bad at some. And I don't think he's going to be very, very successful in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be a very successful fantasy asset. And I am good. I will pass.
Okay. So we won't talk about these, but the masses demand them. I think Christian Watson will be drafted too high in the NFL and too high in your rookie drafts. I think Pickens is not going to be a first rounder, and don't be surprised if Burks isn't either. And Tyler believes his namesake, Tyler Algier, will be one of the first 5 running backs drafted in this class. He's been going at the late third round in mocks, and if he is top 5, that would definitely bump him up. So, time to land the plane. Let's do plugs. Tyler, for those who aren't watching on the stream and might be listening to the podcast, where can we find you on the Twitters?
It is at FF Tyler Heil. That is HEIL.
All right. And what does the GM have going on lately? Any rookie prospects articles or anything that you're doing for the site?
Yes, sir. We just dropped a Garrett Wilson prospect article yesterday, and I'm just finishing up a Chris Olave prospect article that will be released before the draft, just in time, so everyone can study up and brush up and get ready for their rookie drafts, which I have quite a few rookie drafts starting on Saturday.
Yeah, people are just chomping at the bit. So you can find me on Twitter at @FFJunkie_. I've had a few prospect profiles drop on fantasyandframes.com. I'll be doing some dynasty targets moving along after the draft on fantasyandframes.com. A whole lot of stuff on fantasyandframes.com. Go to fantasyandframes.com for everything, including our rookie rankings as we approach the draft. And speaking of the draft, Tyler, what are you doing Thursday night?
I think I'm going to be hanging out with you and Jorge, and I believe there's some other people coming.
Yeah. What are we doing?
I think we're going to be doing a live stream for the draft. We'll all be hanging out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We'll be watching that draft live. You'll be seeing our reactions live. I can't promise we will analyze every single pick. We might just celebrate them. But when it comes to fantasy prospects being drafted, we are absolutely going to analyze that a little bit and discuss what that landing spot means for them.
And Nate Markham will have his notebooks of the depth charts of all 22 positions on every team, and will tell you even about the offensive linemen if you want. You can find this podcast, Shoot the Gap IDP, Fourth and Frames flagship, Daily Fix DFS at the FIF Pod Network on Twitter. We are growing, we are expanding, and we are taking over your ear holes. Okay, so we made it. It's almost draft time. That's a wrap. Thanks for being with us. See you on draft night.
Thank you.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.